Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 Legends update video. Today we'll be taking a look at the Fire and Lightning update patch notes, and the update is actually live on a couple different platforms. I'm on iOS and I got the update earlier today, and so I downloaded it. Now if you don't have the update, you can still view the patch notes in the inbox section as far as I know, and of course on the Asphalt 9 website, of course. Now I also want to let you know that, I'm pretty much going to cover everything there is in this update because the patch notes aren't super extensive. But of course, you can always read the patch notes at your own leisure. So today, we basically have a bunch of cars to showcase for this update. And, well, without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first new car we have is the Inferno Automobili. Yep, Inferno. I don't know why they named the car after the company. That really only happens in rare circumstances. That'd be kind of similar like to the Lamborghini. But anyway, it's a cool sounding name, I guess. And this is going to be a pretty good S-Class car. You can see the stats here at base. The top speed is about 248, I think, miles per hour if you're not in kilometers per hour. The acceleration at 75 is pretty okay. At least it's not terrible. The handling at 47 is very interesting because a lot of S-Class cars have very poor handling stats, but as you know, when you play with them, like the Bugatti Chiron, they actually have good handling. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out. We'll just have to wait and see. But the most important stat, in my opinion, for this car is the nitro because it starts at 62. A lot of other high top speed S-Class cars start the nitro stat at like in the 50s or even 40s. So this is going to be an interesting car in my opinion. It has a good variety of stats. So yeah, I think this will be a very good car to keep your eye on, especially for multiplayer with that pretty good seeming nitro efficiency. Now, all the way back to the other side of the car spectrum, pretty much in the middle of D class, what I would say, is the Infiniti Project Black S. I believe this car is an Asphalt 8, by the way. Now, the stats for this car, again, like I said, they're pretty, I guess, mediocre for a average D-class car, if you would say. There doesn't look like anything crazy about this car, but it's just a nice addition, in my opinion. And so it's definitely nice to have an Infiniti in this game now. Moving up one class, we have the Acura NSX GT3 Evo. Now this is going to be the Grand Prix car for this season, and it's a C-class car. It's not a king or anything like that, but I'd say it's more towards like the mid to high end range of C-class. And the stats for this car definitely seem to be around like the Pininfarina H2-ish, if you would say. It's a pretty mediocre car from the stats, and they all sort of, I guess, match each other. As you can see, the bars for acceleration, handling, and nitro look pretty darn similar. So next up, let's talk about the Legend Pass and the Legend Pass cars, because there's an interesting situation that I want to go over. So let's go over the cars first. So the first one we have here is the Neo EP9, and it's actually the first A-class Legend Pass car, kind of. Again, we'll talk about that later. Now, if you look at the stats, it's pretty much lined up exactly with the proportions of the stats of the Nissan GT-R in A-class, and if you in fact compare the two, it's pretty much just a slightly improved version of the Nissan GT-R. So don't worry if you're not planning on buying the Legend Pass. I mean, we'll talk about that again later, but it's not going to be any king or anything like that. So don't worry. This is actually the car that is viewable, I guess, in the update. So I can show you the sort of 360 walk around in the spoiler for this car. Next up is the interesting car, I guess, and this is the Spark Owl. Again, this is one of the cars I think that we also have in Asphalt 8 as well. Now, this is interesting. The interesting stat about this is definitely the acceleration, because I believe Gameloft gave other YouTubers, of course not me, the stats for the max of these cars, and the acceleration was like 89 or something like that. So it is the fastest acceleration car in the game, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And I do have to say the decal for this car looks pretty darn cool. So I wouldn't say that this is going to be a king or anything like that, but for multiplayer this is going to be very important because of that acceleration. But if you pay attention to the nitro, it starts in the mid 30s, which is pretty bad, as well as the top speed isn't anything too crazy because it starts at around 250 miles per hour. So I said a lot of times that we'll talk about the Legend Pass because it is an interesting situation. Now they talk about how the Neo EP9 is going to be the Legend Pass car for this update, as well as the Spark Owl being the Legend Pass event car for this update, kind of like what we saw with the Bugatti Divo. However, they say that every player in the game will have a chance of unlocking these cars in the future. So I'm not sure exactly what this means because we've never had a Legend Pass car that has turned into a free-to-play car. So I'm not sure if now after each season the Legend Pass car is going to become available, or if it's just talking about how the Spark Owl event, kind of like what is hopefully going to happen with the Bugatti Divo event, that will eventually become available for free-to-play users. So in terms of cars, that was quite a lot, which I'm excited about, but that is about it for the cars. So let's move on to the next different, I guess, additions to the game. So the first thing is we have a new career season. Like with most season updates, there will be a Fire and Lightning season update, or I guess addition to the career mode, which is nice. So talking about events in general, we will have, like I said, a Grand Prix, and that will be the Acura NSX GT3 Evo, but we are going to actually have some Elite Grand Prix, which is nice, for the Tech Rules 1896 and the Aston Martin Valhalla, which is awesome. There's also going to be a Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport car hunt, and it says that there's going to be guaranteed keys as a milestone reward. So this is going to be awesome for those of you who didn't get a chance to get this car. And for Legend Pass owners, there is going to be a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray car hunt and a special event, like I said, for the Spark Owl. Now, in terms of multiplayer changes, pretty much what I discussed in the developer chat multiplayer video is going to be coming in this update. But just to go over some of the highlights, you'll now earn league rewards. They took it out a couple updates ago, and so now we actually they've added that back in. There's also going to be a kind of rating cap loss, and the series score has been adjusted to ensure that you get the at least some score if there are 4 players in a race, no matter where you finish. If there are more than 4 players in the race, then you will score as long as you don't finish last place. There's also going to be an update to the requirements to unlock milestone rewards, and they've lowered the total score needed to get all of them. And in terms of the 1v1 mode, there's not going to be an entry fee, and it's going to be 1 lap instead of 2. The last thing for this update is that the inbox feature will now not only show you the player profile in the what's new section, but it's also going to show you some rewards for events if you have rewards to be claimed. So overall, this is a pretty generic update. Like I said, the basics to this update is pretty much just a bunch of new cars. There's no real theme, I guess, except for that whole Fire and Lightning thing, which is kind of cool. But we're going to have to see how these cars react to the meta currently, because I think these are going to be some pretty good cars for multiplayer. But I don't believe that there's going to be any new meta shifting cars. There's not going to be any new king or anything like that. And honestly, I think that's a bit of a good break for people who've been grinding out Asphalt 9. This feels like it's going to be a more laid back season, which is nice, but I'm very interested to see how they are going to handle the Neo EP9 and the Spark Owl, considering that they said it will be available to all players later on. So again, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go down, but it will be interesting nonetheless. So let me know your thoughts on the cars in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys later.